Welcome to the Cheating Wife Stories channel. Jason Hawthorne's boots hit the gravel driveway with military precision as he stepped out of his black Ford F-150. 23 years of Marine Corps training had ingrained in him an awareness of his surroundings that bordered on paranoia. The ranch house stood quiet, too quiet. No TV noise, no kitchen sounds, nothing that would indicate his wife Audrey was home. Despite her car being parked in its usual spot, he checked his watch. She should be preparing for her book club meeting, which she mentioned during their brief phone call yesterday. The book club that, according to his mental notes, had shifted from Thursdays to Tuesdays, then back to Thursdays, with no clear explanation. Inside, Jason moved through the house with the same calculated efficiency that had kept him alive through 3 tours. The kitchen counter held a half-empty coffee mug, lipstick stains on the rim, Audrey's favorite shade. A novel lay nearby, its spine uncracked. Strange for someone hosting a book club tomorrow. His phone buzzed. Cole Davidson's name flashed on the screen. "Hawthorne," Jason answered. His voice carried the commanding tone that had once directed Marine Scout sniper teams. "Got a minute, Captain?" Cole's voice held an edge Jason recognized from their days in combat, the tone that preceded bad news. "Shoot," Jason replied. "Remember that surveillance job I mentioned? The one near Thompson Falls?" Cole paused. "Just spotted something you should know about. Your wife's Lexus was parked outside a cabin up there. Thought it might be relevant to your concerns." Jason's jaw tightened. Time: 1100 hours. She wasn't alone. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken implications. "Send me everything," Jason ordered. "Already compiling it. But there's more." Cole's voice dropped lower. Wade Turner's truck was there too. Wade Turner, Audrey's step-cousin. The man who'd been showing up at their house with increasing frequency over the past few months, always with some flimsy excuse about family matters or seeking business advice. "Keep on it," Jason commanded. Ending the call, he moved to his home office, pulling up the security footage from the past month. Each camera feed told the same story. Wade's visits coinciding perfectly with Jason's business trips. The pattern was obvious now, like tracking enemy movements through terrain features. His son Parker's decreased visits added another piece to the puzzle. The law student, once a frequent presence at the ranch, now barely showed up once a month. When he did, the interactions were strained, filled with quick glances between Parker and Audrey that set off every combat-honed instinct Jason possessed. The front door opened, and Audrey's voice carried through the house. "Jason, you're home early." He minimized the security footage windows. In the office, she appeared in the doorway, her designer outfit perfectly pressed, not a hair out of place. Too perfect for someone who'd supposedly been at home all day. "I thought you weren't due back until tomorrow," she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Plans changed. Jason leaned back in his chair, studying her with the same intensity he once used to assess potential threats in war zones. "How was your day?" "Oh, just getting ready for book club. Trying to finish the novel." She gestured vaguely toward the kitchen. "The novel with the uncracked spine." Jason nodded, keeping his face neutral. "Wait, stopped by recently." A micro-expression flickered across Audrey's face, something between fear and surprise. "No. Why do you ask?" "Thought I saw his truck in town." Jason stood, his 6'2" frame towering over her. "Interesting guy. Wade seems to have a lot of free time on his hands." "He's between jobs right now," Audrey replied quickly, too quickly. "You know how it is in this economy." "Do I?" Jason moved past her, deliberately invading her personal space. She stepped back instinctively. "Guess that explains all his visits while I'm away on business." The color drained from Audrey's face. "I don't know what you're talking about." "No." Jason pulled out his phone, pulling up the security footage. "Because my cameras have an excellent memory. You've been spying on me." Anger replaced fear in her voice. "Protecting my assets." Jason's voice carried the cold efficiency of a combat report. It's what I do for a living, remember? Security consulting. Audrey's hands trembled slightly as she crossed her arms. I don't have to justify my visitors to you. Wade is family. Family. Jason's laugh held no humor. Is that what we're calling it now? What exactly are you implying? Nothing yet. Jason moved to the door. But I will be. Count on it. He left her standing in his office, her perfectly manicured nails digging into her arms. In the kitchen, he picked up the unread novel, examining its pristine condition. His phone buzzed again, Cole sending the first batch of surveillance photos. Jason opened them methodically, each image confirming what his instincts had been screaming for months. Parker's number appeared on his phone. Jason answered, maintaining his rigid control. Dad. Parker's voice carried an unusual tension. Mom just texted me. Said you're acting strange. Did she? Jason's voice remained neutral. Interesting timing. What's that supposed to mean? You tell me, son. Been pretty scarce around here lately. Law school keeping you that busy. A pause. You know how it is. Finals coming up. Finals. In October. Another pause. Longer this time. Look, I've got a study group. We'll talk later. Count on it. Jason ended the call, his mind already formulating plans with military precision. He pulled up Cole's number. Need you to dig deeper. Everything on Wade Turner for the past 7 years. Financials, movements, communications, everything. Already on it, Captain. But there's something else you should know. Cole's voice carried a weight that made Jason's combat instinct surge. The cabin? It's been in Wade's family for decades, and based on the patterns I'm seeing, this didn't start recently. We're looking at years, not months. Jason's free hand clenched into a fist. How many? Preliminary estimate. At least 5. Maybe more. 5 years. Which meant while he was deployed on his final tour, serving his country, his wife had been. Get me everything. Jason ordered. Every detail. Every meeting. Every dollar spent. I want it all. What are you planning, Captain? Jason glanced toward his office, where Audrey was probably already making more calls, trying to control the narrative. What I do best, Cole. Strategic elimination of threats. He ended the call and moved to his gun safe, checking the security. Everything in place. Combination unchanged. But something felt off about the way the dial had been positioned. Someone had been testing it, trying to figure out the combination. The pieces were falling into place, forming a pattern as clear as enemy movements on a tactical map. Now it was just a matter of timing, of waiting for the right moment to strike. Jason Hawthorne hadn't earned his reputation as one of the Marine Corps' most effective combat leaders by acting rashly. He'd wait, gather intelligence, and when the time came, he'd strike with the same ruthless efficiency that had earned him those 2 Purple Hearts. The ranch house fell silent again. But this time, Jason welcomed it. It was the silence of the hunter, not the hunted, and he'd learned long ago in combat. The deadliest predators were the ones you never heard coming. The surveillance photos landed on Jason's desk with the weight of a court-martial verdict. Cole Davidson stood at parade rest, watching his former commanding officer examine each image with methodical precision. Timeline. Jason began, his voice carrying the same tone he'd used during mission briefings, devoid of emotion. Cole pulled out his notebook. First confirmed meeting at the cabin was 5 years and 3 months ago. 2 weeks after you deployed for your final tour. Jason's fingers tightened on the edge of the photos. Continue. Regular pattern established within a month. Every Tuesday and Thursday while you were deployed. After your retirement, they adjusted to match your business travel schedule. Cole flipped a page. We started making regular deposits into an offshore account around the same time. Amounts varying between $5,000 and $10,000. Source. Your family trust, the one you set up for Parker's education. Cole placed another document on the desk. Audrey had access as a trustee. She's been siphoning funds, transferring them through 3 different shells before they land in Wade's account. Jason stood, moving to the window overlooking the Montana landscape. Parker's involvement. Complicated. Cole pulled out more papers, finding text messages between him and Audrey discussing the cabin meetings. He's known for at least 3 years. Show me. Cole handed over a tablet. Messages already pulled up on the screen. Jason scrolled through them. His expression hardened with each swipe. Mom, Dad almost caught Wade leaving yesterday. You need to be more careful. Parker, 18 months ago. Don't worry, honey. Your father's too busy with his precious security business to notice anything. Audrey's reply. What if he checks the trust fund? My tuition payment is late again. Parker, Wade's handling it. Remember, we're family. You're real family. Audrey's hand tightened on the tablet. Real family. Cole hesitated. There's more, Captain. DNA results came back this morning. The tablet creaked under Jason's grip. Percentage. 0 match. Parker. He's not yours. The tablet shattered against the wall, pieces scattering across the hardwood floor. Jason's voice carried the cold precision of a sniper's calculation. Time frame based on genetic markers and Wade's medical records. Cole paused. 23 years. Parker was never enough. Jason moved to his safe, spinning the combination with practiced precision. Text messages between Wade and Audrey, all of them. Cole pulled up another file. Most are coded, but we broke the pattern. They used book club titles as references for their meetings. Jason removed a stack of documents from the safe. The latest. Last night, after your conversation with Audrey, Cole read from his notes. He knows something. Need to move faster. Wade's response. Time to implement Plan B, kids on board. Jason's laugh carried no humor. Plan B. Always have a contingency. He placed the documents on his desk. Prenuptial agreement, trust fund paperwork, and military records. They're planning something. Timeline based on message frequency and recent withdrawals. Cole checked his data within 48 hours. Good. Jason moved to his security system, pulling up the camera feeds. They'll move at night. Easier to explain accidents in the dark. Cole shifted uncomfortably. What's the play, Captain? You still carry that backup piece. Always. Good. Jason checked his watches, both of them. Audrey takes sleeping pills. Knocks her out by 2200 hours. She'll be under when we move. Sir. Cole hesitated. This needs to be legal. Clean. Jason turned, his eyes carrying the same cold focus that had made him legendary in combat. Everything I do is legal, Cole. That's why I win. He moved to his desk, pulling up his laptop. Security camera footage played across the screen. Audrey making calls. Wade's truck pulling into a nearby gas station. Parker's car leaving his law school parking lot. They're converging. Cole noted, not yet. Jason pointed to the timestamps. They're establishing alibis first. Amateur work. The sun began to set outside, painting the Montana landscape and deepening shadows. Jason moved through the house with practiced precision, noting every creaking floorboard, every blind spot in the camera coverage. You've got proof of the embezzlement? He asked. Cole nodded. Documented and verified by 3 separate forensic accountants. The trust fund theft alone is enough for federal charges. The affair. 5 years of photos, videos, and hotel receipts, plus the DNA test results. Wrong move. He held up his phone, playing a recording. Her voice, Wade's voice, discussing their long con, discussing Parker's true paternity. 3 minutes. She moved in, grabbing clothes, essentials, hands shaking as she stuffed them into the suitcases. The offshore accounts are frozen. Jason informed her coldly. The trust fund documentation has already been sent to the FBI. The Financial Crimes Division is very interested in money laundering these days. You're destroying our son's future. She spat. Wade's son. Jason corrected. And he destroyed his own future when he chose to help you steal from the trust fund. 2 minutes left. She moved faster, desperation driving her movements. Final chance, Jason stated. Confess everything now. Return the money, and I'll let the criminal charges slide. Fight me, and I'll bury all of you. She straightened. You were never here. Always deployed. Always working. Wade was here. Wade understood. 1 minute. Jason's voice could have cut diamonds. And for the record, I understand perfectly. You're a thief, a liar, and a fraud. And in exactly 30 seconds, you're also homeless. She grabbed the last of her jewelry, fumbling with the clasp of her favorite necklace, his gift from 2 Christmases ago. Leave it, he commanded. Property acquired during marriage stays with the injured party. Section 4, paragraph 7. The necklace fell from her trembling fingers. Time's up. He pointed to the door. Get out. She moved past him, suitcases dragging behind her. At the doorway, she turned. They're coming for you, she whispered. And they'll take everything. Jason's smile carried all the warmth of a combat knife. Let them try. The door closed behind her with finality. Jason moved to his security monitors, watching her load the suitcases into her car. Cole's voice came from the doorway. Want me to follow her? No need. Jason pointed to a blinking light on his laptop. Trackers already active. Let them gather. Let them plan. What's our play, Captain? Jason pulled up his security feeds, checking every camera angle. We let them come, and then we remind them why Marine Scout snipers are the deadliest hunters on Earth. Cole nodded, understanding the cold logic behind his former commander's strategy. They'll try tonight. Of course. Jason moved to his gun safe, checking the lock again. They're predictable. Amateurs playing at professional games. The Montana night deepened outside, but Jason Hawthorne remained alert, ready. He hadn't survived 3 tours and earned 2 Purple Hearts by underestimating his enemies. The pounding on the front door resonated through the ranch house like mortar fire. Jason checked his security feed. Parker stood outside. His expensive suit wrinkled, his law school composure shattered. Coming, son, Jason called out, his voice carrying the same calm he'd used during firefights. The moment the door opened, Parker exploded into the house, his face contorted with rage. You heartless monster. Spittle flew from Parker's mouth. How dare you throw her out? This is her house too. Jason remained motionless, evaluating threats just as he'd done countless times in combat. Is that what she told you? Or did Wade help craft that particular lie? Parker's face paled. I don't know what you're talking about. No. Jason pulled out his phone, thumbing through messages. Let's see. Mom. Dad almost caught Wade leaving yesterday. That's from you. 18 months ago. Or how about this one? Wade's handling the trust fund. Ring any bells? You had no right to read my private messages. Private. Jason's laugh carried no warmth. Like the private offshore accounts. The ones you helped them set up to launder money from your own trust fund. Parker took a step forward, courage fueled by desperation. That money was for my education. Your education. Jason's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Tell me, does the Montana Bar Association know you've been participating in wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy? You wouldn't dare. Try me. Jason moved closer. Decades of combat training evident in every step. But that's not what really bothers you, is it? What keeps you up at night is knowing that any DNA test will prove Wade Turner is your biological father. The color drained from Parker's face. You're lying. Marines don't lie, son. We leave that to civilians who engage in deceit and fraudsters who help cover it up. The sound of tires on gravel caught Jason's attention. The security feed showed Wade's truck pulling up, Audrey in the passenger seat. Right on schedule. Jason's voice remained steady. Your backups arrived. Parker moved toward the door. This isn't over. No, Jason agreed. Wade burst through the door. Audrey closed behind. His hand shook as he pulled out a pistol, holding it like someone who'd learned gun handling from action movies. "Time to die." "Old man," Wade sneered, his grip on the weapon embarrassingly amateur. Wade's pistol trembled in his inexperienced grip, the threat hanging in the air between them. Jason's combat-trained mind processed every detail in microseconds. The safety catch still engaged, Wade's improper grip, Parker's position by the door, Audrey's stance suggesting she might lunge for a weapon. 15 years of Marine Corps training surged through Jason's muscles. His body moved with the fluid precision that had kept him alive through 3 combat tours. Before Wade's shaking finger could find the trigger, Jason closed the distance. A precise strike to Wade's wrist sent shockwaves through the would-be shooter's arm. The pistol flew from his grip as Jason's elbow connected with his temple. Wade crumpled to the ground, the weapon clattering across the floor. "Dad, stop." Parker's voice cracked with panic. Jason's peripheral vision caught Parker's movement toward the gun safe. The combination lock spun under Parker's fingers. The same combination he'd watched Audrey input months ago, when she thought no one was watching. "Wrong move, son," Jason warned, maintaining his position between Wade's unconscious form and the others. The K-bar knife emerged from the safe, 7 inches of tactical steel that had served Jason through 2 tours. Now his own son. No, Wade's son held it with amateur desperation. "Put it down," Jason commanded, his voice carrying the authority that had once directed Marine combat units. "You don't want this fight." The living room laid out play to his tactical advantage. The heavy leather sofa provided a natural barrier to his left. The sturdy coffee table created an obstacle to his right. Each piece of furniture offered both cover and constraints for movement, just like the urban combat scenarios he'd mastered in the Corps. 30 seconds. That's all I needed. Audrey's heels clicked against the floor as she edged toward the fallen pistol. Jason tracked her movement without turning his head, using the room's layout to his advantage. The living room provided optimal maneuvering space. Each piece of furniture became a tactical position. "Parker," Audrey called out, her voice tight with desperation. "The gun." Jason's boot slammed down on her reaching hand, applying calculated pressure enough to immobilize without breaking her cry of pain echoing through the room. "That's my mother." Parker lunged forward, the K-bar slashing in a wild arc. Jason stepped inside Parker's reach, deflecting the blade with a forearm strike that numbed the younger man's fingers. The knife joined the pistol on the floor. A precise sweep took Parker's legs from under him. 3 threats neutralized. Jason announced, his voice cold and professional. 3 assailants subdued, all on camera. He gestured to the security system's recording lights. "Would you like to explain to the responding officers why you brought a firearm and a combat knife to a family discussion?" Wade groaned from his position on the floor, blood trickling from his temple. Audrey remained pinned under Jason's boot, her designer outfit collecting dust. Parker lay wheezing. "You're insane, Audrey," she spat. "You'll never get away with this." Jason's laugh carried no warmth. "Get away with what?" "Defending myself against armed intruders. Montana has very clear castle doctrine laws. But please explain to the judge why you brought a gun to my house." "It wasn't supposed to be like this," Parker gasped, struggling to sit up. "No." Jason increased the pressure slightly on Audrey's hand. "Tell me how it was supposed to go." "Wade shoots me. Makes it look like a break-in gone wrong. You collect the insurance, split my assets 3 ways." "You don't understand," Audrey pleaded. "We're family." "Family." Jason's voice could have frozen hell itself. "Family doesn't steal from trust funds. Family doesn't plot murder. And family sure as hell doesn't fake paternity for 23 years. The sound of approaching sirens cut through the tension. Cole must have called them when he heard the confrontation start. "Last chance," Jason offered, his tone suggesting he didn't care which option they chose. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Your choice." Wade's eyes fluttered open, unfocused from the concussion. You attacked us." "Really?" Jason nodded toward the security cameras. The same cameras that recorded you drawing a weapon that caught Parker stealing a combat knife from my safe and filmed your entire murder attempt in high definition. They'll never believe you. Audrey snarled. They'll believe the evidence. Jason's voice remained steady, every second recorded. Every theft documented. Every conspiracy caught on tape. But please, keep talking. The microphones are excellent. Red and blue lights painted the room in alternating colors. Car doors slammed outside. On your feet, Jason commanded. Hands where I can see them. All of you. Parker helped Wade stand, both men steady. Audrey clutched her bruised hand to her chest. Mascara streaked across her face. This isn't over, she whispered. Actually, it is. Jason retrieved the fallen weapons with practiced precision. And your next conversation will be with the police. I'm sure they'll be very interested in why a law student, his mother, and her lover tried to murder a retired Marine officer in his own home. The front door opened, admitting 2 uniformed officers with weapons drawn. Cole followed them in, his private investigator's badge visible. Captain Hawthorne, one officer called out. We receive reports of an armed confrontation. 3 intruders. Jason reported, his voice crisp and professional. 1 firearm, 1 combat knife. All subdued. No serious injuries. Full security footage available. The officers moved to secure Wade, Parker, and Audrey, reading them their rights with practiced precision. You'll never prove anything. Wade muttered. His handcuffs clicked around his wrists. Jason's smile carried all the warmth of a combat knife. Actually, I already have. Every theft, every conspiracy, every lie, all documented. But please, keep talking. The booking officers love a good story. Cole approached as the 3 were led away, their protests fading into the Montana night. Clean takedown, Captain, he observed. No, Jason corrected, watching his former family being placed in separate patrol cars. In combat, you know who your enemies are. This was something else entirely. The house fell silent again, broken only by the sound of police radios and departing vehicles. Jason moved to his security system, methodically downloading backup copies of the night's footage. Scene 1 ends here to avoid mixing with Scene 2's legal proceedings. 2 weeks after the attempted assault, Jason stood before the county courthouse. The recent security system upgrade installed after he'd noticed signs of tampering with his gun safe had proved prescient. Every moment of their attack was captured in crystal-clear detail by the newly mounted cameras. Inside, the divorce proceedings had turned into a 3-ring circus of criminal charges and counter-accusations. The 2-month-old security footage formed the centerpiece of both the criminal case and the divorce filing. They're trying to claim self-defense, Cole reported, falling into step beside Jason as they climbed the courthouse steps, saying you lured them there to attack them. Let them. Jason straightened his tie, the same precision in his appearance that had once earned him commendations in the court. The security footage tells a different story. Their footsteps echoed through the marble corridors as they approached courtroom 3. Inside, Audrey's expensive lawyer waited with a stack of documents that would have intimidated a lesser man. Mrs. Hawthorne is prepared to settle, the lawyer announced as they entered. Half the business, the house, and full custody of all accounts. Jason's laugh cut through the pretense. Counter-offer. She walks away with her personal belongings as per the prenuptial agreement. Section 4, paragraph 7, the one she signed 23 years ago. That agreement is contestable, the lawyer protested. Given the length of the marriage, given the evidence of her crimes, Jason interrupted. She should consider herself lucky. I'm not pursuing additional charges. Cole placed a thick folder on the conference table, security footage from the attack. Bank records showing systematic theft from the family trust. DNA test results proving Parker's true paternity. Would you like me to continue? The lawyer's face turned pale as he flipped through the documents. These records are all admissible. Jason finished, along with the attempted murder charges currently being processed by the DA's office. But please tell me more about how she deserves half my business. Audrey burst into the room, her designer outfit unable to hide the strain of recent weeks in county jail. You bastard. You're trying to destroy me. No, Jason corrected calmly. You destroyed yourself. I'm just providing the evidence. She laughed hysterically. You set us up. You knew we were coming that night. Of course I knew. Jason's voice carried the same tone he used during mission briefings. I used briefing combat missions. I also knew about the offshore accounts, the trust fund theft, the fake paternity. Would you like me to continue? Her lawyer grabbed her arm. Mrs. Hawthorne, please. He had nothing. She shouted, It's all lies. Jason nodded to Cole, who activated a laptop. Audio filled the room. Audrey's voice discussing their murder plot with Wade, recorded by the security system she'd never noticed. The cameras went in 2 months ago. Jason explained as her face crumbled right after Cole spotted her car at the cabin. High-definition video, professional-grade audio. The DA's office was quite impressed. You can't. Her lawyer started. I can, and I have. Jason pulled out another document. Full forensic audit of the trust fund. Every dollar tracked. Every transaction documented. The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit has copies. Would you like to explain the money laundering to them? Audrey collapsed into a chair. Nothing. Jason's voice could have frozen fire. You get what the prenup specifies. Your personal belongings. Nothing more. The house is mine. As is the business. As is every account you tried to drain. He stood, straightening his jacket with military precision. You have 24 hours to sign the papers. After that, I stop being generous. Generous. Her laugh bordered on hysteria. You're leaving me with nothing. No, Jason corrected. I'm leaving you with exactly what you earned. Would you prefer I pursue the maximum sentences for attempted murder, conspiracy, and fraud? Her lawyer cleared his throat. My client needs time to consider. She has 24 hours. Jason moved to the door. The criminal charges proceed either way. It's her choice if she wants to fight a losing civil battle too. In the corridor, Cole fell into step beside him. That was cold, Captain. No, Jason disagreed. Cold would be ensuring she serves the maximum sentence for each charge. This is merely efficient. Parker's lawyer called. Cole reported, wants to make a deal. No deals. Jason's voice carried absolute finality. He chose his side. Now he faces the consequences. He's technically your son. He's technically nothing. Jason stopped, fixing Cole with the same stare that had once frozen enemy combatants. He's Wade's biological child, Audrey's co-conspirator, and an attempted murderer. The only thing he gets from me is a fair trial. Back in the main lobby, reporters waited with cameras and microphones. Jason moved through them with combat-honed efficiency, ignoring questions about the societal scandal of the year. Any comment on the charges? One reporter shouted. Justice, Jason replied without breaking stride. It's its own comment. The Montana sun beat down as they emerged from the courthouse. Another day of legal battles awaited tomorrow. But Jason Hawthorne had never lost a war. He didn't intend to start now. The trial stretched across 18 months, each proceeding revealing new layers of deception. Jason sat through every hearing, his military bearing unchanging as the evidence mounted. Parker's plea cracked first. His prior convictions combined with the new charges left him facing decades behind bars. The plea deal offered 20 years, far less than he deserved, but enough to ensure he'd never threaten Jason again. 20 years with the possibility of parole, the DA explained during a private meeting, in exchange for testimony against the others, against Parker and Audrey. Jason corrected, let's use their names. He's willing to detail everything. The affair, the theft, the murder plot. 20 years, Jason stated, his voice carrying finality, at a restraining order that extends beyond his release date. No contact, no proxies, no exceptions. Captain Hawthorne, we believe this is fair. The DA's office agreed. It's not about fair, Jason interrupted. It's about ensuring he understands the consequences. 20 years plus the restraining order. Or I testify about every detail of their attack. Every motion, every threat, every moment caught on camera. Let the jury decide his fate. Wade took the deal. 20 years with no possibility of early parole. Audrey's trial lasted 3 weeks. Her expensive legal team tried every angle: emotional manipulation, claims of abuse, allegations of entrapment. Jason's testimony destroyed each defense with military precision. Please state your name for the record, the prosecutor began. Captain Jason Hawthorne, United States Marine Corps, retired, and your relationship to the defendant. Former spouse, he replied, his voice carrying no emotion. Current victim of her attempted murder conspiracy. The evidence mounted day by day. Security footage showing the attack, bank records revealing the theft, DNA tests proving decades of lies. The defense claimed he set up this confrontation. The prosecutor noted that he deliberately provoked an attack. How do you respond? He asked. I installed security cameras in my home after detecting unauthorized attempts to access my gun safe. Jason's testimony remained precise, factual. The footage shows them entering my property armed, with clear intent to commit bodily harm. Their actions and words, recorded in high definition, demonstrate premeditation. Audrey's sobs from the defendant's table drew no reaction from him. The jury took 6 hours to find her guilty on all counts. 10 years felt insufficient, but Jason would take the victory. Parker's case proved more complex. The youngest conspirator, the law student who'd thrown away his future for a false father's schemes. His initial bravado crumbled under the weight of evidence. 5 years, his lawyer offered during plea negotiations. He'll testify against both of them, both of whom Jason asked coldly. His mother and his real father, the ones he helped try to murder me. He was manipulated. He was an adult who made his choices. Jason stood towering over the defense table. He stole my knife, helped plan my murder, and participated in years of fraud. The evidence is conclusive. He's your son. No, Jason's voice could have cut steel. The DNA proves otherwise. The only thing he is to me is a defendant in a criminal case. Parker took the 5-year deal. His law career ended before it began, his name forever marked by his crimes. The final hearing brought them all together one last time. 3 defendants, 3 sentences, 3 futures destroyed by their own actions. Do any of the defendants wish to make a statement before sentencing? The judge asked. Wade stared at the floor, already broken by the system he tried to manipulate. Audrey's tears had run dry weeks ago, leaving only bitter hatred in her eyes. Parker stood, his expensive suit replaced by prison orange. Dad, he started. The defendant will address the victim properly. The judge interrupted. Captain Hawthorne. Parker corrected, his voice small. I'm sorry. Save it. Jason's voice carried across the courtroom. You made your choice. Now live with it. The judge's gavel fell like a guillotine blade. Case closed. Justice served. Family destroyed. Outside the courthouse, reporters pressed for comments. Jason moved through them with practiced precision. Any final words about the sentencing? A reporter shouted. Jason turned to face the cameras. They planned murder, committed fraud, and betrayed trust. The evidence proved their guilt. Justice delivered its verdict. He descended the courthouse steps. Behind him, 3 conspirators headed to prison cells they'd earned through their own choices. The betrayal that had shattered his family was now a matter of public record, sealed in court documents and prison sentences. Cole matched his stride. Hell of a fight, Captain. No, Jason corrected firmly. In combat, you face your enemy head-on. They chose assassination and theft. Now they face the consequences. 6 months into the prison sentences, Maria Ramirez's heels clicked against the polished granite of the DA's office as she approached Jason's position in the waiting area. Her press suit and badge marked her as one of the department's rising prosecutors, a far cry from the law student who'd once dated Parker. Captain Hawthorne. She extended her hand, gripped firm and professional. "Thank you for coming in." Jason assessed her with the same tactical precision he applied to everything. "Ms. Ramirez, Cole mentioned you had information. Several files worth." She led him to a conference room, where documents spread across the table in precise arrangements. "I broke up with Parker 3 months before the incident. What I found in his apartment made me sick." Details. Jason's command carried no question mark. Maria pulled out a laptop, opening files with practiced precision. Financial records, communications, plans. She turned the screen toward him. Parker was running point on multiple frauds, not just the trust fund scheme. The documents revealed a pattern stretching beyond Jason's family. Other victims, other accounts, other lives destroyed by Wade and Audrey's machinations. "Why come forward now?" Jason's question cut through the data. Maria's spine straightened. "Because I'm a prosecutor and I believe in justice, but mostly because I watched them try to destroy a good man for money." She pulled out more files. "This is everything I collected before and after we broke up. Names, dates, accounts. The DA's office knows you're sharing this. They authorized it." She tapped the badge on her belt. "We're building cases for the other victims. Your evidence helped crack it open, but there's more. Much more." A knock at the door interrupted them. Rebecca Turner entered, her resemblance to Wade evident in her features, but not her bearing. Where Wade had projected false charm, his sister carried herself with the weight of long-held suspicions finally confirmed. "Captain Hawthorne." Rebecca's voice held no familial warmth. "I've been waiting 20 years to help bring my brother to justice." Jason's eyebrow raised fractionally. "Explain." Rebecca placed her own stack of files on the table. "Wade's been running cons since high school, always targeting families, always using relationships to get close." She met Jason's gaze directly. "I tried warning people, but he was convincing until now." "The cabin," Maria interjected. "It wasn't just for the affair with Audrey, was it?" "No." Rebecca's laugh carried bitter knowledge. "It was his base of operations. Every mistress, every mark, every scheme ran through there. I've documented 17 victims across 4 states." Jason absorbed the information with tactical precision. Evidence. Bank statements going back 15 years. Rebecca pulled out more papers. Property records under aliases. Correspondence with other accomplices. She paused. Audrey wasn't his first partner in these schemes. Just his most ambitious and his most ruthless, Maria added, pulling up more files. "The attempt on your life wasn't spontaneous, Captain. They'd planned similar accidents for other marks who got too close." Jason processed this with the same calculation he'd once used evaluating combat intelligence. Cole's investigating the other cases. "Already on it," Maria nodded toward her laptop. 3 other victims have come forward since your case broke. 2 involve suspicious deaths of wealthy spouses. The DA's office wants to tie it all together." Rebecca explained, "Use your case as the cornerstone to bring down the entire operation." Jason studied the evidence before him, each document revealing new layers of betrayal. "You're both taking risks coming forward. Worth it." Maria's response came quick and firm. "They tried to murder a decorated Marine officer. That makes it federal. And personal," Rebecca added. "My brother's actions destroyed families, ruined lives. Someone needs to stop him." Jason stood, decision made. "Send everything to Cole. Every document, every statement, every scrap of evidence. He faces every charge, every consequence. No deals." Maria confirmed. "His sister's testimony is stronger anyway. She has documentation going back 20 years. She has nothing." She shouted, "It's all lies." Jason nodded to Cole, who activated a laptop. Every plan, every scheme, every murder plot documented in her own voice. Parker's voice this time. "Dad, please. I didn't know about the murders. You have to believe me." Jason switched off the audio with the same efficiency he'd once used clearing weapons. Add it to the evidence file. His knowledge of other crimes proves premeditation in our case. Maria began cautiously. His testimony could help with the federal charges. No. Jason's response carried combat finality. He chose his side. Now he provides evidence, not testimony. The investigation expanded daily. Each recorded call, each documented transfer, each piece of evidence revealing new layers of criminal enterprise. Wade and Audrey's attempt to destroy Jason's family had exposed a decades-long operation of fraud, theft, and murder. Justice was no longer about personal vengeance. It had become a tactical operation to dismantle an entire criminal network. 2 years after the sentencing, Jason's security consulting firm had evolved. What began as standard protection services now specialized in defending against complex financial frauds and family infiltration schemes. Grace Matthews, the sheriff who'd handled the original arrests, placed a case file on Jason's desk. Her transition from law enforcement to private security had brought tactical advantages to both their professional and personal lives. Details. Jason's query carried his standard precision. Similar pattern to Wade's operation. Wealthy target. Family divisions. Suspicious accidents. She tapped the file. Except this time, we caught them before anyone died. The success earned a slight nod. Jason's standards remained as exacting as they'd been in the Marines. Maria's office handling prosecution. Already filed charges. Grace settled into the chair across from him. Her testimony could strengthen cases against Wade's other accomplices. But she lies. Every word, every tear, every promise designed to manipulate. He activated his computer, bringing up case files. The evidence speaks. She doesn't. Grace understood. She doesn't. She'd watched him build this new life with the same tactical precision he'd used dismantling the old one. No compromise. No weakness. No forgiveness for betrayal. Parker's monthly letter arrived. Maria mentioned. Arrived this morning. Standard filing protocol. Jason and Grace responded simultaneously. The evidence room down the hall held 5 years of Parker's correspondence, each letter cataloged and stored, building a documentation trail that prevented any future legal challenges. The DA's office completed its review of Audrey's prison communications. Maria added, she's still trying to contact former associates. 3 attempts to establish new schemes from inside. Expected behavior pattern. Jason's assessment was clinical. Forward the transcripts to the parole board. Grace's tablet displayed new alerts. Rebecca's testimony helped close the Tampa case. 3 more conspirators indicted. 2 pleading guilty. Sentencing. Federal guidelines. Minimum 15 years each. Jason approved with military precision. The network that had nearly destroyed his family now lay in ruins, its members scattered across federal prisons. The ranch hosts the next veterans retreat next week. Grace noted. 4 former Marines, 3 Army Rangers, 2 Navy SEALs, all dealing with similar betrayals. Expand the program, Jason decided. Double the capacity for next quarter, Grace continued. Maria began gathering her files. One last thing. Audrey's former cellmate reached out, says Audrey still talks about returning to Montana after release. She won't. Jason's certainty carried absolute finality. The restraining orders are permanent. The evidence files are complete. Every move she makes will be documented and countered. Grace touched his arm lightly. The only person allowed such familiarity. The security protocols are solid. No one gets past our screening now. The office fell quiet. Each person processed their role in the ongoing mission. Maria's prosecutions protected the legal flanks. Grace's security systems maintained tactical superiority. Jason's leadership ensured their combined efforts remained focused and lethal. 5 years, Maria mused. Since it all began. No, Jason corrected her. 5 years since it ended. What began was something else entirely. He was right. From the ashes of betrayal had risen a new purpose. The ranch that had witnessed his family's implosion now healed broken warriors. The business that Audrey had tried to steal now protected others from similar predators. The trust funds Wade had attempted to drain now secured futures for deserving students. No mercy for the merciless still hung above the fireplace. But its meaning had evolved. Justice wasn't just punishment for past crimes. It was prevention of future ones, protection of potential victims, transformation of pain into purpose. The betrayers faced consequences far beyond prison terms. Their legacy became a warning. Their methods exposed as teaching tools. Their schemes transformed into case studies. They tried to destroy a Marine captain's life, but instead created an organization dedicated to destroying predators like themselves. Justice, Jason had learned, is best served not just cold, but comprehensively. Not just punishing evil, but preventing its spread. Not just winning the battle, but securing the future. The mission continued, and Marines never abandoned a mission. Thanks to everyone who took the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.